40 years, we've had an economy that rewards people who ship American jobs overseas and raises taxes on American workers, and we're flipping that on its head. We're going to cut taxes for American workers and for American companies that build here. We're going to make it harder to ship American jobs overseas. It's a total shift in the way that we've done economic policy in the United States of America, but it was necessary. So, yeah, we're going to cut your taxes. You're going to have more money in your pocket, and that's, of course, going to help you deal with the cost of inflation. But that's not about offsetting the tariffs. They work together. We want to penalize people for shipping our jobs overseas. We want to reward hardworking Americans. It's all part of the same policy.
The president's new tariff policy. And when I think about what he got elected on is to bring the cost down for people, but also bring manufacturing back to the country.
That's right.
These are going to kind of hit each other, right? Explain to us how you get manufacturing here, but also get the cost down for the American people.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had the fastest growing economy in a generation, and we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on 2 principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America. For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation. We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden global.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Yeah, buddy, it's going down. They say, well, JD, he out there. We actually have a vice president. We actually have a vice president. What's going on, family? I hope everybody is blessed, well, healthy, and that nothing but the best is going on in all you beautiful people's life. A lot is happening, man. We're bringing the best updates, keeping it real, and we're gonna continue to spread the love through all this crap that we see right now, man, and all the violence, the hatred, you know, the derangement syndromes, the radical left, these activists, and we're gonna keep winning, you guys. We're going to keep winning, and again, we know how things are all right now in the market. And again, a lot of people, and they're screaming and all this crap, and they want things to be right now. That's what's right. People are so focused on right now and don't care about the long term, the bigger plan. You know, it's right now. You know, same with these people. I thought on day one, everything was gonna drop on day one. As you see, things now are dropping, but on day one, it's supposed to be on day one. You know, crazy, man. But JD Vance just dropped the hammer. Let's go and get into him. He stopped yapping and japping and rapping. Let's jump in, family.
Family, let's bring in the Vice President Vice President JD Vance. Thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
So the last time we had a one-on-one was...
And half of those people that's talking and the radical left, and even some of you guys have friends and family like this, have no idea how the economy works. How much you want to bet? We'll put some money on it.
It's in your house. You weren't vice president.
Yeah,
right. you were auditioning. You were the only candidate that said if you didn't get selected, you would be disappointed. Well, you got accepted. So congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some of the issues that matter to the American people.
Sure.
And it's the president's new tariff policy. And when I think about what he got elected on is to bring the cost down for people, but also bring manufacturing back to the country.
That's right.
These are going to kind of hit each other, right? Explain to us how you get manufacturing here, but also get the cost down for the American people.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had the fastest growing economy in a generation, and we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on 2 principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America. For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation. We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden globalist pathway where we have $2 trillion of peacetime debt and deficits. We have manufacturing disappearing. That is not working for Americans. We've got to take this country in a different direction.
Mr. Vice President, there does seem to be a disconnect. You see Wall Street in the media and the markets, and they're freaking out right now.
Yep.
But then I look at those workers that were in the Rose Garden yesterday, and they're celebrating. I think about all the diners that I've done across the country, and all these businesses saying we've lost manufacturing here, and they're celebrating the move. What is the disconnect between the market and the people, those workers that are cheering this on right now?
Well, I think on one hand, frankly, a lot of people have gotten rich from American jobs moving overseas, but American workers have not gotten rich. And frankly, American companies have not gotten wealthy from the increasing growth of foreign competitors manufacturing overseas. As the president says, Lawrence, these foreign companies, they charge us ridiculous tariffs. They engage in a lot of non-tariff practices like currency manipulation. That has been awful for Main Street in the United States of America. It's meant those diners, their customers, don't have jobs anymore. It meant those great steel mills, those great auto plants have closed down and their workers have been laid off. What I saw yesterday in the Rose Garden was incredible enthusiasm because a lot of those workers, they've been working hard for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, young and old, were in the Rose Garden yesterday. They've never had a president who stood up for their jobs and stood up for American prosperity. They finally see something has shifted. There were Democrats out there, Republicans. There were union and non-union workers alike. They know this is a big change, but we need a big change in this country because what we've done, what we did under the Biden administration, it just wasn't working.
So, Mr. Vice President, I know a lot of MAGA folks, a lot of Americans that are cheering the president on, especially when he takes it to other countries.
Sure.
They feel like we've been screwed for a long time.
Yep.
But I also know people that come from our background, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Of course.
And they want to do the patriotic duty of taking it to these other countries, but it's going to hit them a little bit. They feel. What can you tell the American people that they just can't afford an extra $3 here and there about the government making up the difference from that? Will costs go up at some point? Will this just be temporary? Are we talking 3 months or 6 months?
Well, we certainly hear, and I appreciate, how I grew up.
I know.
I grew up in a family that often did live paycheck to paycheck, and we know a lot of Americans are worried. So we are fighting very hard to bring prices down. We're going to have the biggest deregulation in the history of this country. We're doing a lot of things and already have done a lot of things to lower the cost of energy. You heard the president mention this yesterday. Eggs, when we came in, were at a 10-year high, and all of a sudden they've dropped 60% just in the 2 months of the Trump administration. What I'd ask folks to appreciate here is that we are not going to fix things overnight. Yeah. Joe Biden left us, this is not an exaggeration, Lawrence, with the largest peacetime debt and deficit in the history of the United States of America, with sky-high interest rates. You don't fix that stuff overnight. We know people are struggling. We're fighting as quickly as we can to fix what was left to us.
And if you know how it works, it does not happen overnight.
It's not going to happen immediately, but we really do believe that if we pursue the right deregulation, we pursue those energy cost-reducing policies, yes, people are going to see it in their pocketbook. They're also going to benefit from the fact that foreign countries can't take advantage of us anymore. That means their jobs are going to be more secure.
I don't think you can talk about the tariffs, and not talk about the tax cuts as well that we're expecting. Is this to offset some of the cuts that we plan on expecting? Will this be a permanent measure, or are we thinking when it comes to the scoring of this bill, we're going to be able to get cuts as a result of this?
I wouldn't think of tax cuts as a way to offset the tariffs. Here's the way that I think about it is, again, for 40 years, we've had an economy that rewards people who ship American jobs overseas and raises taxes on American workers, and we're flipping that on its head. We're going to cut taxes for American workers and for American companies that build here. We're going to make it harder to ship American jobs overseas. It's a total shift in the way that we've done economic policy in the United States of America, but it was necessary. So, yeah, we're going to cut your taxes. You're going to have more money in your pocket, and that's, of course, going to help you deal with the cost of inflation. But that's not about offsetting the tariffs. They work together. We want to penalize people for shipping our jobs overseas. We want to reward hardworking Americans. It's all part of the same policy.
I want to get to some other news because there were some reports that came out that Elon Musk is leaving. Now, of course, the president had already said
we got to repeat ourselves time and time again, man.
Basis.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. DOGE will continue after Elon Musk. Will he still be an advisor to you and the president? I know y'all have a great relationship. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, that report I saw was total fake news. Elon
Fake news, like I said. I did a video on it earlier. I don't know how many times we got to do it and repeat ourselves. You know, we are against the fake news. You know, the legacy media, make sure you repeat the fake headlines. They can't tell the truth. Cannot tell the truth whatsoever.
Came in and we said, we need you to make government more efficient. We need you to shrink the incredible, vast bureaucracy that thwarts the will of the American people, but also costs way too much money. And we said that's going to take about 6 months. And that's what Elon signed up for. But of course, he's going to continue to be an advisor. And by the way, the work of DOGE is not even close to done. The work of Elon is not even close to done. You look at all of the fraudulent grants that they found. You look at people who are 150 years old, who are fraudulently collecting Social Security payments. You see our Social Security system, 40% of the people who are calling in are actually committing fraud. That means the 60% who need their Social Security checks are waiting in line. DOGE has got a lot of work to do. And yeah, that work's going to continue after Elon leaves. But fundamentally, Elon is going to remain a friend and an advisor of both me and the president. And he's done a lot of good things. People don't realize how vast and uncontrolled the bureaucracy was. We've started to chip away at it, but there's a lot of work to do. It's not going to happen all in 6 months. It's going to take a long and committed effort.
Tell us about the news when it comes to TikTok. It looks like the president is going to announce maybe today some proposal. Maybe America owns 50% of TikTok. A private investor will own the other part. Is that going to happen today?
So I don't want to get ahead of any presidential announcements here, but what I've said is we've been working very hard, me and the president, the entire team, to really accomplish two things. First of all, you want to make sure that the TikTok app in the United States is not spying on people.
Right.
That's good for national security. You also want to give people access to this incredible platform, which, as we know, that's where a lot of young people get their news. That's where a lot of young people found out about the policies of the Trump administration. And we got to accomplish both of those things. I think that we're in a good place. We're going to keep on working at it, but I'll let the president make that announcement.
If it doesn't come out before the person was a great father, and then they're hanging around with MS-13.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
What's going to be done? The courts are blocking this right now, the executive branch. What are you guys going to do about it?
Well, look, we're going to keep on appealing. We're going to keep on fighting back here. First of all, we have to remember the most important thing was to stop the bleeding, to stop the influx of massive illegal immigration into the country.
I'm talking about these. Put the judge on the plane. Put these activists on the plane. Put these Democrat Obama-appointed judges on the plane. Let them have a good conversation with the gang members.
And in 2 months, the president has already done that. You have illegal border crossings down over 95% in pretty much every part of the American southern border. Then, yeah, we got to get the violent criminals out of here, and we've got to get illegal immigrants who came in during the Biden administration out of our country. That's what we're working on now. You're right. The courts, some radical left judges have stepped in and said you're not allowed to deport MS-13 gang members. That's crazy. We think the Supreme Court's going to overrule it, and we're going to keep on fighting for the president's prerogative to enforce the law. Lord, you have to remember the number of people who came in here, the innocent American, girls like Jocelyn Nungray who lost their lives. Democrats never wept for them. Democrats never issued a congressional resolution of condemnation for their murder. Democrats didn't do anything to make it harder for violent thugs to come into our country and prey on innocent young women. What they're getting fired up about, what they're most angry about, is not that Jocelyn Nungray was murdered, but that the person who murdered her is getting shipped back home where they belong, not in the United States of America. I think it shows a disgraceful set of priorities from congressional Democrats. We're not going to let that stand in our way. We're going to keep on doing the American people's work.
Mr. Vice President, can I get you to put your lawyer hat on for a second? Because they're pointing to one of these cases of a gentleman that they said should not have been deported from El Salvador. They said he was not connected to MS-13. What would you tell them about that case? Because they're saying that this is a person that was a great member of society. You've looked at the court records. You've talked to the men and women on the ground. What can you tell us about that situation?
Well, there have been a few cases out there where the Democrats and the media say, oh, this person was just an innocent father of three. And then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang. He had also committed some traffic violations. He had not shown up for some court dates. This is not exactly father of the year here. This is a person that we don't think should be in our country. Here's the most important point, though, Lawrence, is whatever the argument is, whatever the justification is, no one doubts, not even the crazy left-wing media criticized the idea that we could deport this person. They just took issue with the reasoning for why we deported this person. This was unquestionably an illegal alien. This was unquestionably a person who broke the laws to get into our country. This is unquestionably a person an immigration judge had found had zero right to be in the United States of America. We do not ask permission from far left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants. We do the American people's business. And again, for the American people who are watching, this is such a weird, mistaken placement of priorities. We need to make our country stronger. We need to create jobs. We need to make our streets safer. What is it about congressional Democrats that get more angry at deporting violent gang members than they do at the victims of those violent gang members? I don't even understand where they're coming from. They've gone off the deep end and they got to come back to reality.
I think it goes to the larger point, though, about the lawfare happening right now. It's not just the immigration cases, but pretty much everything that the executive is doing right now has been challenged in these lower courts.
Sure.
Is there a way to expedite this straight to the Supreme Court? Or do we legally have to let lower courts, make these decisions?
Yeah.
It goes to the appeal courts and finally it goes to the Supreme Court. People are saying the 4 years will be up by then.
Well, there are a lot of things that we can do, not just appeals. We can limit the jurisdiction of certain courts. Even when certain courts make a ruling, say that you're not allowed to deport a person for a certain reason, we can still deport that person for another reason. So it's not like deportations have stopped. But yes, the radical courts are a problem. But our view here is we knew we were going to have this fight. We were prepared for it. We're going to litigate it all the way to the Supreme Court. We think that we're going to win. And when we do win, that will end this question permanently. Think about this. The Democrats, they're spending so many resources fighting the deportation of gang members. You have to ask, where are their priorities? But we knew they were going to do this. We're prepared for it, Lawrence, and we're going to fight all the way to the top of the courts.
Yes, indeed. I had to get into those important parts, man. They just can't seem to tell the truth. But we're going to keep winning, family. And it's all about now. Lies, fake news, fake headlines, These activists, the radical left, just won't stop, man. We're against the media. Can't tell the truth. There it is, man. Tariffs, tax cuts, activist judges. You have common sense back. Put them on the plane. Send them back. Criminals, murderers, rapists. Make America safe again. Make America wealthy again, man. We are rooting for this administration, man. Prayers for Trump, the Trump administration. We are rooting for this administration. We are rooting for America, man. Simple as that. Let me know what y'all think. I love y'all. God bless you all and your family. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace and love, you guys.